the nature of Parathanumano or inference for others. Diṅnāga classified inference into two: Swarthanumano or inference for oneself and Parathanumano or inference for the sake of others. The distinction can be broadly understood as the one between inference as indirect knowledge and inference as argument. Diṅnāga's concept of inference for oneself rests on his doctrine of Trirupa Hetu, that is, the triple character of the province. The doctrine of triple character province can be located in the larger framework of different possible ways in which Hetu can be related with Paksha, Sapaksha and Vipaksha. Diṅnāga understood this spectrum of possibilities in terms of what he called the wheel of Hetus or the Hetu Chakra. The other five are cases of Anuikantiko Hetavasa or fallacy of being inconclusive, the fifth one being Asadharana Anuikantiko, and the others are cases of being overly inclusive or Sadharana Anuikantiko. It may be noted here that the distinction between the Swarthanumano and Parathanumano which Diṅnāga introduced was not entirely new. Gautama and Vatsyayana had implied such a distinction, but Diṅnāga presented it in an explicit and systematic way. Secondly, the way the Naiyayikas made the distinction is different from the way the Buddhists made it. So, two questions become important. Can Swarthanumano and Parathanumano be called Anumano in the same sense? If Swarthanumano and Parathanumano are considered as two different though related processes, then can we say that the two processes are parallel or isomorphic in nature? It seems that Nyaya answers to both these questions will be affirmative, but the Buddhist answer will not be a straight affirmative. The distinction between the two Anumanas was made more explicit and elaborate by later Buddhist logicians, but it might be implicit in Diṅnāga. The author of Nyaya Praveshaka Sutra defines Swarthanumano as the cognition of provendum that occurs to a person who sees province which has triple character. While inferring for oneself, the inferring agent may not think systematically in terms of the triple character of the province. While convincing the other person, however, the inferring agent has to present the inference in the form of a systematic argument. According to Diṅnāga, this inference for others has to have three steps: thesis, reason and instance, Paksha, Hetu and Drishtanta. Later Buddhist logicians too distinguished between the two varieties of inference with regard to the essence or nature of the two. Inference for oneself is of the nature of knowledge, while inference for others is verbal in nature. That is, as in the case of the first variety of inference, the objective is one's own knowledge. It occurs to that agent who has the direct knowledge of the province in the locus and also the knowledge about the close relationship between the province and the provendum. By means of this knowledge, he himself comes to comprehend the object which he could not directly perceive. Since he needs the knowledge for himself and not for anyone else, he does not need to employ any other means. But the case is different with the other variety of inference. Here the objective is to enable another individual apprehend through inference what he cannot directly apprehend. So the agent needs to take recourse to propositions so that the other individual can have the knowledge. Hence, this variety of inference is propositional in nature, expressed through propositions depending on the threefold properties of the probance. A question can arise here. If inference by definition is a kind of knowledge, how can the inference for others, which is just speech, vachanatmaka, utterance of an argument in nature, be called a kind of inference? In reply, it has been said by the Buddhists that here the word inference is used in a secondary sense, upochara. Since inference for others, which is just utterance of an argument, is the cause of inferential knowledge which occurs in the mind of the other individual, it is regarded as inference in the secondary sense. Here, the sense of the effect, namely knowledge, is applied to the cause, namely the propositions, since these propositions give rise to the knowledge of the unperceived object in another.